Okay, good evening. Welcome to the October Cabinet meeting for Rustick Borough Council. I'd just like to remind everyone the Cabinet meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. The recording of the meeting will be available afterwards on the Council's YouTube channel. In addition, under the Local Authority Executive Arrangements, Meetings and Access to Information, England, Regulations 2012, other people may film, record, tweet or blog from this meeting. The use of such images, sound recordings is not under the Council's control. I'd like to welcome Councillor Mallender. Good evening, Councillor Mallender, for joining us this evening. So I'd like now to move to the first item on the agenda. Apologies for absence, please, Ms Tambini.
There were no apologies for absence this evening.
Okay. Declarations of interest? No. Minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have a proposer, please, for those meetings? Councillor Edwin, a seconder, please. Councillor Brennan. All those in favour of accepting those minutes? Carried unanimously. We have no citizens' questions, no opposition group leaders' questions. So if we can move then to item 6, which is the revenue and capital budget monitoring for 22-2023, update for Q1. Councillor Moore.
Thank you. This is the, as you said, the Q1 update. I've just been talking to Sarah. Q2's finished now, so this one's running a little bit late. So I will be adding some to the end of my report because the world has changed significantly since the end of Q1 update. So, and as I say, this is the one I should have reported at the last cabinet. Unfortunately, that was delayed. So we'll have Q2 fairly soon. So this is the first financial report of the 2022-23 year, giving a position statement on both our revenue and capital budgets. It's been challenging, not least because of inflation, risks linked to Ukraine, and the impact on energy costs. And as you know, these are getting worse at the moment. Furthermore, there are significantly pay risks limited to this, like all of the businesses, and the subsequent to this, the pay offer has been implemented, and I think in many cases, has it been agreed yet? No, right, but it has been implemented, majority of it. So this report has been to the corporate overview group on the 6th September, and they found no significant issues. Our prudent and financial management ensures we're able to meet the financial burden of these risks with a revenue budget efficiency for the year projected at just over £1 million. As I say, things have changed since then. Appendix A and B give explanations for the revenue variances and summarised at table 1 on page 12, with interest on investment balances and maintaining business rates levels being key reasons for the positive budget position. Regarding capital, I refer you to paragraph 4.7, which gives reason as highlighted for the underspend position. The projected outturn is around 19.2 million, resulting in an estimated underspend of just over 6 million. Primarily, this arises from the provision for support for registered housing providers, not wholly committed at this stage. That's 1.89 million, whilst options continue to be assessed. An anticipated saving of £1 million on Bingham Leisure Hub, and schemes for Copgrave Leisure Centre, Keyworth Leisure Centre and West Park totalling just under 1.5 million are recommended to be rephased to the next year's capital programme. Given the concerns regarding the cost of living crisis, which is causing us all problems, paragraph 4.11 gives commentary on collection rates in relation to our sundry income, council tax and business rates. Currently, this looks positive, but we're mindful that such performances could quickly alter. Paragraphs 4.12 focus on 2 of the council's big projects. The crematorium, Bingham Leisure Hub. Construction delivery risks still prevail in the economy. And it does say here there could be delays, but there will be delays, or there are delays, although we are hopeful it'll be up and operating fairly soon. Paragraphs 4.14 to 4.15 give further information regarding the council's intention to secure external funding to deliver both the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and Levelling Up funding. The former is in relation to 2.5 million over 3 years, 2022-23 to 2024-25, for both revenue and capital schemes across the borough. The latter relates to delivering new infrastructure and improvements to existing walking and cycling routes on the south of the river. Finally, Appendix E shows the Q1 position on the special expenses budget. The expenditure is currently expected to be on budget. However, this position may change later in the year as variances are identified. And in summary, it's very true with what's happening now that our good financial position in this council is what enables us to meet the challenges presented by the current economic environment. If nothing else, the last 24 months have shown us that we cannot rest on our laurels. And as I said, since I wrote this for the last cabinet, the world outside has changed quite quickly, which means we will have to continue to be prudent for the rest of this year and in our budget setting, which obviously will include budgets for things like salary increases and the levels of inflation we have at the moment. So that's my summary of it. I'm happy to move the recommendation that the cabinet approve the attached report, noting the expected revenue budget efficiencies for the year of 1.073 million and proposals to earmark this for cost pressures. The capital budget efficiencies of 6.17, including the reprofiling of provisions totaling 1.465 to 2023-24 for Cotgrave Leisure Centre, Keyworth Leisure Centre and West Park. The transfer of 150,000 from the street loan provision to the capital contingency fund, and the expected outturn position for special expenses to be in line with the budget. The council positively engaged in securing external funding with regards to the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, Levelling Up and Safer Streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Edwin.
Yeah, I'd like to second the recommendation. There's not an awful lot I can add to Councillor Moore's comprehensive summary, but I think it is worth noting he did mention that Bingham Leisure Centre is coming in £1 million below the budget, and although it's very disappointing that the leisure centre has been delayed in opening, I think it's also very much worth noting that we've delivered a project below budget at a time when building costs have been rising rapidly. And as a council, we are still debt free. I think it's great that the finance team are doing an exemplary job, and we should certainly thank Peter Lingfield and all of his team for their hard work and dedication. We know the future is going to be challenging. There's a lot of things coming at us, but I'm sure we will find ways of working through it with good financial planning, and I'm happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions, comments on that? I've just got one, which is just, it occurred to me, I read this on the train of the court costs of 33k, council tax court costs of 33k at our advantage. How does that work?
Recovery.
Oh, we've actually recovered the court costs from people. Okay. So it's like an income. Shouldn't say that, should I? No, okay. I just wonder how that work with it. I think the other point to make, one of the advantages, of course, of inflation is the increase in interest rates. And with our investments, we're seeing that it does actually generate additional income for us. And this is Q1, and since then, I think interest rates have gone up fairly substantial. So Q2, you'll be giving next month, Councillor Moore, will be even better, won't it, in terms of interest rates and returns? So it is the only one advantage, I have to say, because the largest I appreciate the balance, but we should point out the positives where we can. But obviously, inflationary pressures right against our cost base are fairly substantial. So if there's no more questions, we'll go to vote. So the update proposed with those recommendations by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Edwin. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Next item on the agenda, we have the customer access strategy, which is Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I'm going to be referring to this document. I hope you've all had time to have a look at it. It's a very good document, actually, and quite thought-provoking. The strategy behind this sets out greater customer access to deliver contemporary, efficient and easy-to-use contact channels and enable easy use of our services where and when residents need them, enhanced by increasing digital access to our services. It will respond to our customers' current and future needs and tailor services within existing budgets, whilst identifying and exploring innovative digital options customers can understand and relate to. We are committed to customers accessing our services in methods that suit their needs. Whilst increasing digital service will continue as part of this strategy, focus will remain on the balance to engage with customers face-to-face at our sites and explore customer offers with partner organisations. It's interesting to see in this paper that how the trends have altered in forms in the way of face-to-face, phone and internet contact. Our customers require services that are easy to access, simple to use, reliable and cost-effective. Therefore, we need to increasingly adapt to new technologies to help us deliver these services. This will include further promotion of engagement with self-service channels because of the greatest convenience they offer, building on research and best practice. We also need to continue to explore services in a post-lockdown COVID environment with our partners and communities to assess if there is any agreements and partnerships that can increasingly benefit our stakeholders and customer service sites. It's important we continue to increase free available internet access and mobile technology across Rushcliffe in line with customers' expectations to access services and be able to communicate with us anytime and anywhere. This customer access strategy will support delivery of the Council's priority of efficient services, whilst complementing its associated external and internal communication strategy. Ultimately, it aims to engage, empower and enable our customers to retain a great quality of life and supports delivery of the Council's corporate strategy priorities with timely, convenient and easy to use services, whether our residents access them digitally, over the phone or in person. Again, this report was written for the delayed cabinet. I've had a little bit more to it since then. And I'll say this document is very comprehensive. So it was a really good document and I would refer everybody to study it. And it gives a lot of interesting facts how customers contact us and how this is changing in the digital world. I personally feel currently we have a very good reputation regarding how customers contact us. Unlike, I have to say, many other organisations in this digital world that we live in. However, it's important not to sit still, and that's why it's important to improve and innovate. And that's why this report is important. And it's important that we're just not sitting back being comfortable on the situation we are at the moment. So I'm looking forward to the recommendations being implemented in the next during the next financial year. And I'm also looking forward to, as part of it, the new website, which we've got planned for the next year. And quite interestingly, we've just set up a panel of councillors this week who are going to be reviewing some of the early stuff on the new website. So I'm very happy to support the recommendation that the Cabinet approves the adoption of the Customer Access Strategy 22 to 25 at Appendix 1.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second, Councillor Brennan?
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, I endorse everything Councillor Moore said. I think this is a really good document, and I think it's a good read. Actually, it's very accessible. It's very easily understood, and I think it encapsulates the ethos of the communication strategy itself. In as much as you can pick it up, you can find the bits in it that are relevant to you. It contains some interesting information, and it makes clear why we've responded the way we have to the data that we've got, which I think is logical and a really good response to the information that we've assessed over time. It is really interesting to have a look at how people have changed in terms of how they interact with us pre and post COVID. And I think mostly it's just accelerated trends that were happening anyway in many respects, but it's brought that to the fore, and that's why things like renewing our website and making that customer interface, which is probably one of our most important ones apart from face-to-face, accessible, readable, and pleasant to navigate is so important. And I think this is a great strategy, and I think it'll stand us in very good stead. I'm also very pleased that it does enable us to be fleet of foot in as much as we can adapt our various means of communicating with our residents according to their needs and according to their wishes. And it is important, even though 80% of them may choose to interact electronically or digitally one way or another, that we still have a physical presence on the high street, and that for those that don't want to interact that way, they can see us, they can come and talk to us directly. But I also think that keeps us in our communities. The fact that people can come and pop in and talk to our staff and know that there's real people there, not just a screen, is really important. And I think this strategy takes us a long way to embedding that, whilst making sure that we can be efficient and use the best and most up-to-date means of communicating with people. So I think it's a great report. It's really pleased to see it. Really look forward to seeing it rolled out. And I'd like to second the recommendation that the Cabinet adopts the strategy going forward. Thank you.
It's good having good access to an access strategy, isn't it? As you said. Disappointed if we didn't, wouldn't it? No, I concur what you say there. It is very good reflecting on this. Something you should never take for granted. Something you've always got to look at in terms of access. I was quite surprised actually the difference of ratios for West Bridgford compared to our other contact points. 10 times more people come through West Bridgford than the other ones. Although that reflects the Open, doesn't it? The Opens are limited on the other places. But still over nearly 500. Still quite a lot of people there, isn't it? In terms of coming in. And I suppose the report done, particularly on the pandemic, really skewed figures, didn't it? Quite somewhat, didn't it? That's really changed. So it'll be interesting to see when this progresses as we go along there. So, okay. Any other comments?
Can I just make a brief one, Chairman? I do support face-to-face contact, but if the trend does go to a critical point where a standalone borough council facility is perhaps not viable, then I would hope that we would look at probably partnering with other organisations in the locality, such as a library or parish council, whatever, because you could well get to the point in the future where the face-to-face numbers are so low that really a standalone facility probably isn't worth the utilities, the rent and all the rest of it.
No, it's a good point. But if you look at someone like Cotgrave, it is a multi-service there, isn't it? So our staff actually do some work in the library and everything. And I've been there several times. It works really well. But I completely agree, Councillor Upton, with that. You can't just have people just sitting there doing 2 people a day, can they, to talk to us? So moving that forward. It's interesting also other councils have a lot more face-to-face contact than we do, but of course they also work with benefits, don't they? A lot of DWP, like Newark and Ashfield and things. So it's quite hard doing comparisons, I found, when we're looking at this with other councils. Whereas Rushcliffe would probably have a higher uptake of IT as well, you'd think, probably across our population. So again, that reflects that. So yeah, I think it's a very good report, and so it's a good read actually, and very interesting. So just taking those recommendations as recommended by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Brennan. All those in favour? Good. That's a recommendation going forward in the future. We don't have Councillor Moore's picture on page 1, please. We won't put that in a minute. So. Next item 8 is the Aslockton Conservation Area consultation. Councillor Upton.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As the report title states, this is a report all about seeking Cabinet's approval for a public consultation of 21 days, including a public event in the village of Aslockton for the draft Aslockton Conservation Area character appraisal. And I strongly suspect that we'll be seeing many more similar reports as we work our way through the review of all our conservation areas. So this is the first, I suspect, of many more. But the Planning Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act of 1990 states that it should be a duty of the local planning authority, and their words, not mine, from time to time to review their conservation areas. And this is what's been done for Aslockton. And whilst there is no legal requirement to consult the public, we believe it's a good practice, and that's what we're proposing in this report. Now, the Aslockton conservation area has been reviewed by officers in partnership with the local community reps, and a copy of the draft character appraisal is attached to the report. So following the public consultation, if we approve it, any responses will be considered, any changes made before bringing a report back to Cabinet for final adoption. So I would like to make the recommendation shown in item 2, which is, and I'll read them, it is recommended that Cabinet A agrees that the village of Aslockton still possesses qualities of special architectural and historic interest, which would warrant its continued designation as a conservation area under the Planning Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act 1990, and B, approves the draft conservation area character appraisal and proposed conservation area boundary for the purposes of public consultation to last a period of 21 days and to include a public consultation event to be held in the village. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor English.
Thank you. Well, yeah, conservation areas are a great way to preserve and protect the unique qualities of villages. So I do welcome this proposal to review this conservation area. It is important to protect these special characteristics and the heritage that make Aslockton Aslockton. You know, it takes it away from, you know, it's not Plumtree, it's not Keworth, it's those unique qualities of the village, and we need to protect them. As Councillor Upton said, there's no legal requirement to hold a public consultation, but I feel it's absolutely vital that the residents do have an opportunity to have their say, to have their views. It's concerning their village, so you know, so I've got no hesitation at all to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor English. Any other comments on this? I'd say it's largely procedural, isn't it? I think it's very good. I think we've got probably more conservation areas than any other council, I think, in Nottinghamshire, I think, haven't we? So they are very, very precious to us, and obviously this legislation reflects this, and look forward to seeing this progress. So we'll take a vote on this then, as proposed by Councillor Upton, as recommendation set out in the report, seconded by Councillor English. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. That's so that brings close to our meeting tonight. Thank you very much indeed for your time, and